me.
Welcome to the Senior Rehab Podcast.
The podcast for rehab clinicians that want to better serve older adults.
And now, your host, Dustin Jones.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the Senior Rehab Podcast, and thank you for the download. This is a very special episode. I'm going to give a recap, a summary, if you will, of my time at the Combined Sections meeting in San Antonio, Texas. The Combined Sections meeting, for those that don't know, is the American Physical Therapy Association's biggest conference. So there's about, I think, 15,000 people that came to this conference, and we can consume different content. We can go see what people are making in terms of products or software or services. We can also network with other motivated clinicians, and so it's all the different areas, the specialties of physical therapy that all convene in one convention center in one city for a week, and it is freaking nuts to say the least. But I wanted to share my thoughts on it, and then also share with you a very special recording that I have at the very end of this podcast. So be sure to stick around for that. So the first thing I do want to mention is my absolute favorite part about this year's CSM, which is my second CSM, is I got to meet many of you, the people that listen to this podcast, and I was absolutely blown away by the amount of people that would just randomly come up and say, "Hey, are you Dustin? Or do you do the Senior Rehab Podcast?" And it may be surprising for you, but it's very easy for me as a podcaster to be in my own little bubble, to record these conversations and to talk to other people, and to not grasp that there are thousands of people that listen to this audio. It's very easy to forget that, even though I see the download numbers and know that each download is an actual person, but to actually get to meet that person, to shake their hand or give them an awkward hug, which I love doing, was just so cool. And it just makes it worth it for me to spend, the countless hours talking to people and recording this stuff and putting it out on the internet. It really makes me feel like I'm doing something that other people are hopefully gaining from. So yeah, kudos to you all that came up and said hi. I really enjoy that stuff. It really makes the job or side hustle or whatever you want to call this thing a lot easier and more enjoyable. So in terms of sessions, I honestly didn't go to too many sessions because I was pretty nervous for the one I gave, but I did go to a few, and I do want to speak on those. I went to a couple that were focused on population health. If you were at CSM, you probably noticed a theme. There were several talks, educational sessions discussing our role as physical therapists in terms of prevention, disease prevention, and health promotion, wellness, whatever you want to call it. But how we as clinicians are very, very equipped. We're uniquely equipped to be able to handle these different situations where we can have a huge impact on people and their lives before they're diagnosed with whatever disease or whatever injury. We have the knowledge and the capacity to really change lives and prevent people from even coming into the healthcare system. And so these sessions were basically just people telling others how they do that. So, Mike Eisenhart is one of them. You're going to be hearing from him pretty soon. We did a pretty fun podcast together where we recorded a conversation while running, of all things. He was joined with Chris Hines, a former Senior Rehab Podcast guest, and Todd Davenport, who's a professor, I believe, out at Pacifica University in California. And their talk was absolutely amazing. You can follow the hashtag PTRev to see what went down with that session on Twitter. And then also on Saturday, there's a group, I think it was with the geriatric section, where they were just talking about the different models of how they really focus on health promotion and disease prevention, and shared how they do that in a skilled nursing facility, or doing home health, or different senior centers, and all these different areas that I know for me, I didn't necessarily perceive how I could be an asset in those different settings. But that is a big theme and a big conversation that's going on, and I'm very, very excited to do whatever I can to help spread that message. because I do feel like we are uniquely equipped to be able to have a huge impact on people's lives way beyond the scope of what we see traditionally in practice. So if you're interested in that type of stuff, check out the show notes. I'll put some links in there to different resources and different people that you will definitely want to connect with. The big one being aphpt.org, the Academy of Prevention and Health Promotion Therapies, led by Mike Eisenhart, and he's got tons of people helping him out to really push the needle forward in that regard. Another session that really stuck out to me was the Oxford-style debate on dry needling. This was a pretty fascinating thing to be just a witness. So Kyle Ridgway, he's physical therapist in the ICU in Colorado. You all know him. He's been on the podcast 3 or 4 times. I can't even remember now. And then Kenny Veneer, who is a home health PT that was recently on the podcast. They represent the side that's against dry needling, and they debated against Callie Alcoyne and Mark Milligan, who were on the pro side. And then it was moderated by Scott Morrison. And it was absolutely fascinating, but honestly, it was very refreshing for many reasons. But after this recent political season, which, everyone in America knows what I'm talking about. Actually, probably everyone listening to this podcast is aware of the political climate here in our country, that we were able to have a professional debate, and it did not become emotional. People were not attacking other people. They were attacking ideas, and no one was necessarily taking offense. And yeah, there were some little jokes and jabs in there, but it was all in good fun. But it was such a professional conversation and well-educated individuals on both sides that really presented their arguments well. That was just really awesome to be a part of. And I think it was really helpful too, and challenged some assumptions and convinced some people to ask some tough questions, and may have swayed them to be, for dry needling or even against it, or just not have a clue of what they think about it. So yeah, kudos to the people that really put themselves out there to do that session. I was super impressed. I know a lot of other people were as well. I got to hang out with the MedBridge crew again, and man, I'm really impressed with that group of people. I met them last year for the first time and just really enjoyed getting to hear their story and just how they are really trying to open up the door for people like me, the home health clinician, or the geriatric rehab clinician, to be able to find engaging and high quality content in a manner that's easy to consume. And they've just killed it over the past year. I know many of you listening and many of you that are in the Senior Rehab Project Facebook group are taking their GCS prep course and are really enjoying that. But they showed me their app, their home exercise program app. And it's this portal that basically allows that interaction of what you want your patient to do and recommend for them to do on their own time. And then it allows the patient to consume that in a very easy and thoughtful manner. So they literally pulled up a bunch of different exercises that, you would commonly see on a home exercise program, and you can set the dosage, how much you want them to do, how often, how long are the rest breaks, blah, 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 all those different variables. And you literally hit a button and hit play, and you can just sit the phone or the tablet down and just watch the screen, and it walks you through that automatically. So you don't have to fumble around with 18 pieces of paper and draw your stick figures and all that stuff. You can literally pick these exercises, and the patient can download the app, hit play, and they're good to go, which I found that to be super useful. I know many patients would benefit from that, but also the caregivers as well. So I guess industry is fascinating, just because there's so many different companies that are really pushing the brink and how we can improve the quality of care, the communication, how we interact with different people in a very thoughtful and easy manner, which makes me excited, because right now we definitely have many broken lines of communication, lots of messages that don't get to where they need to be. So yeah, MedBridge, kudos, keep doing what you're doing. I and many others really appreciate it. So now I want to mention my session with Karen Litzy, #OldNotWeak CSM. So, oh my gosh, I was absolutely blown away by the turnout. So just to give you all a little context of that. So, Karen Litzy, previous, SRP guest, she, was on the show, I guess just a couple weeks ago. We talked about strengthening the older adult, how to scale that, how to, use some of these strength and conditioning principles with some of our older patients. We had no idea what to expect going into this. And, both of us were kind of nervous. We didn't know how things would go. And so Friday comes around. That's when our session was, and our session was 11, and it's 10:30, and people start filing in. It's like, they're here kind of early, and just another one, and it was about 10:50, 10 minutes till the start of our talk. The room was filled, and it was unreal. I did not expect that whatsoever. There were people just sitting around the edges, down the middle aisle, and it was full. In the room, there's roughly over 350 people. And this is my favorite part. So, there's a huge line, going out, and there's one person that I really, really wanted to be in this talk. And this is one of my favorite human beings on the planet. Nowhere as close as my wife, for sure. But she's a very impactful professor. Dr. Ann Harrison from the University of Kentucky. She is the one that indirectly influenced me in a very powerful way that I did not even grasp when I was at UK. It wasn't until I kind of reflected back on my time with her that I really grasped the depth of all her wisdom and the lessons that she shared with me, and just had a huge influence in how I perceive my work now. And I knew she was at the conference, and she knew when the talk was, and I was just hoping that she would come. But the room was full, so I was really worried that she wasn't going to get in. And just a few minutes before, I see her pop her head in, and I go up, and this was so good. I literally ushered her down the center aisle, and there was an open seat right in the front row, and she sat down right by all my other Twitter friends, Sarah Haig and Monique and Jamie and Sean and Ryan, Gene, and all kinds of different people were there. And when she sat down that front row, I was not talking to the over 500 people that ended up attending that session. I was talking to her, and man, it was an absolute blast. So with all that being said, I don't know how the session actually went. I just know a lot of people came. There's 350 in the room, and then about 150 in the overflow area. And we didn't even get to finish our session just because we started 15 to 20 minutes later due to the lack of seating. So it was exciting. So if you haven't followed that session on Twitter, or if you want to see some of the resources we put together, go to oldnotweak.com, and you'll see all our resources and see a storify of the session that you can see on Twitter to see what the people were talking about. But yeah, it was an absolute blast. I enjoyed it. I was glad that it was over, but I had a lot of fun doing it. So the last thing that I want to mention before the special treat is the home health section. Many of you know I'm involved in the home health section in terms of the public relations committee. That sounds so fancy, but I'm kind of coordinating a podcast for them that we're just trying to bridge the gap between the leadership and the section members. So there's an open line of communication there. But the home health section, I've gotten to interact with a lot of the leadership and the people involved making decisions that are doing awesome things and producing amazing content. And my goodness, they are a solid group of people that are driven, that want to make our profession better, but then our tiny little corner of healthcare, the home health market. I mean, just in terms of improving the quality of care that we give as PTs and PTAs, I mean, that is their main objective. And it is so amazing to see that fire and that passion amongst the leadership. That was just really cool. So yeah, if you are a home health physical therapist, I highly encourage you to check out the home health section. I mean, for me, it's been super valuable and definitely, worth the money, but just to get involved, the people that you meet and how they influence you, is very, very beneficial. So I would even say selfishly get involved with the home health section. And I definitely, don't think you'll regret it. So that's it for my recap. I had a blast, but one of the funnest events was our second annual fast food feast. So last year at CSM, there was a group of us that went to Carl's Jr. and had a good old time, and we decided to do it again. There's I think 7 or 8 people that came, and we went to Whataburger. So here's the deal. We had a few drinks beforehand, and I thought it was a good idea to record a podcast. It got a little out of hand, and the audio, I'll let you be the judge, but we got some pretty interesting audio from this dinner/podcast recording. And I had a bet. Zach Stearns, he is the host of the Voice of the Patient podcast, the podcast that David Reed started. Zach Stearns, he made a bet with me. He says, if you get 5 minutes of audio out of the Whataburger session, I will owe you a beer. And then he went on to say, this is in quotes, hell, I'll even give you a beer for every 5 minutes that you get out of the Whataburger session. And I have links to those tweets in the show notes for anyone that is doubting Zach Stern's statement. So, Zach, I accept your challenge. Here is my wide-ranging conversation with Ryan Smith, Jamie Lowy, Sean Hagee, Rich Gaudio, Sarah Haig, Rachel Herbeck, Monique Carruth, and Zach Stearns. Y'all enjoy. Hello, friends. Welcome to the Senior Rehab Podcast. This is a live episode coming from What a Burger. It's Whataburger? Whataburger.
Whataburger.
Okay, we're here with friends. We're at CSM. It is
Whataburger.
Friday night. We have one more day.
It's Friday already?
It's Friday. It's Friday. We'll be editing for sure. So we're gonna do a round table. All right, to my left.
But it's a rectangular table.
Right, my buddy Ryan Smith. Ryan Smith, how's CSM been for you, man? What's the biggest takeaway point for you at this conference?
You know, the biggest takeaway point for me was that we got to involve males in pelvic health a little bit more.
Whoop, whoop.
I know.
Tell me about that.
Who would have thought? Can you believe men have pelvic floors?
No, no.
Can you believe it?
Come on.
I'm amazed as you are.
Mm-hmm.
And they have dysfunction in the pelvic floor sometimes.
Really?
It's unreal. You know, some might call it a cultural shift, a mindset shift, or a physical shift. A physical shift.
All right.
Monique with the,
Yes.
with the set and the dunk there. You know, that's the big one.
Okay.
Combine that with the fact I gave a talk on it with little to no research to back it up, and it was fantastic.
That's impressive.
You know, I tried my best.
That's impressive. I know Sarah Haig, who's on the other side of the table, we'll be hearing from her in a little bit, was very proud of you. And I think you even brought a tear to her eyes. So good work with that, man. I know it's not easy.
I know. She's in denial, I think, but I don't know.
Yeah, we'll let her speak to
We'll
that.
let her speak to that, yes.
All right, so Jamie Lowy.
Yes, sir.
How you doing? Previous Senior Rehab Podcast guest.
I'm doing very well, thank you.
All right, what's been your biggest takeaway point?
Okay, so it has been 7 years since I was last at CSM.
Wow.
7 years.
Like 6 plus 1.
Yes.
Oh my God.
That is called PT math, by the way. But the last time I was at CSM, I was a rehab director for a small home health agency, and I just went and did everything that was home health related. This year, I've gone to private practice, women's health, and home health, and it has been an amazing experience. My takeaway has been that combined sections needs to be stop thinking about your section. In fact, if you do anything, when you look at your schedule, look at all of the other sessions that are not your section.
Yeah.
And go to them. See what other PTs are doing, meet them, talk to them, and see what else is going on in the PT world.
Yeah.
Our collaboration as clinicians, as therapists, as administrators, whatever it is critical for us to move things going forward. If we don't actually take time to see what else other clinicians are doing, we're going to be stuck. I'd like to say that Dustin's presentation today with Karen Litzy took over 500 attendees, which was a home health section record. And it's all due to social media.
It's not confirmed. There's an asterisk beside it.
Can we have a recount?
So I'm going to hand it off to Sean because at this point, he needs to go to bed.
Sean Hagee, tell us what you do, but then tell us what you ordered to eat?
I'm a smile maker. I'm a life changer. I got the number one at Whataburger, and currently in the small intestine. Probably will be exiting the body before morning. At a rapid pace.
Okay.
And
It's still ADL. It works.
well, I got my Kentucky accent, and I noticed that Dustin Jones was really bringing the thunder today. My favorite part was doing the CSM after dark, trying something new.
That was awesome.
Having a few people kind of share their stories, do something a little bit different. Hopefully, we can do more things like that at CSM and just as a profession. A lot of people get hung up on the research and data side, which is incredibly crucial if we're going to move the profession forward. But we're stuck in preaching to the choir mode all the time. All the blogs you see, there's great information, but it's all just preaching to the choir stuff.
Yeah.
We need to start taking that knowledge base that we have and bringing it to the general population. Because if it was based on research, we would be the providers of choice, and we obviously are not.
So we're at 5 minutes, folks, and Zach owes me one beer. Zach, I would prefer for my first beer to be an IPA, please. Thank you.
So part of it is just sharing those stories. We all have those personal stories, stories with our clients. The more that we can make that kind of connection and let people know what we do, I mean, just good things for the profession.
Yeah.
Also,
Preach.
Country music is the devil.
All right, let's talk to Rich over there. Rich, what'd you get to eat? And what's your full name and what do you do?
My name's Rich Gaudio, and I have not had enough to drink to really compete with this group.
That's probably a good thing for podcasting.
Not that it hasn't been offered, but I do physical therapy in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and there's probably a long story on that, but yeah, Fredericksburg, like the Civil War place.
Beautiful.
I know.
But,
That's how I know it.
Beautiful country.
Beautiful country. I guess I'll summarize the whole week that I've been here, and the illustration that Mike Eisenhart gave us today at his talk on revolution and PT is really just the illustration of the coin, two-sided coin. One side is the problems that we run into, and then the flip side of that is the opportunities that those problems create for us. So I think we can embrace the problems in our profession and recognize that they give us opportunities to make change and go forward in the future.
Yeah. That was awesome today when he just emphasized being problem solvers.
Yep.
Instead of just physical therapists, just like taking that PT hat off.
Indeed.
That was awesome.
Definitely hasn't had enough to drink tonight yet.
Yeah,
That was really
give
awesome.
Rich a drink.
Yeah, that's why I'm jumping off here. Let's fix that in a hurry.
Yeah.
Hold on. I think Sean Hagee's trying to leave. Can we do a collective boo? Sir Hague,
Yes, sir.
what do you do and what did you have to eat at Whataburger?
What do I do and what do I eat? So at Whataburger, I had the number one with
Good choice.
bacon.
Some listeners may be familiar with the hashtag Pants Not Pads talk that we have with Sean Hagee, who just left.
Who just left, which was a great talk. And actually, so I'm also part of the Public Mafia. And as of yesterday, after Ryan's talk, there's also the Penile Mafia, which, you know what? I'm in on that as well. Boys need help too.
They do. They do.
That might be my biggest takeaway from this is that I've been approached by more male therapists who are like, I'm just trying to help dudes with pelvic issues, but I got nothing to do. I can't find where to go for education. I can't find where to go to like commiserate and have a community. And I'm like, so Kirk, I know some dudes if you want to get together.
Apparently it's Ryan Smith's TM.
But it's come up in at least 4 different places this weekend, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
Because that was actually my talk was on prostate pre and post prostatectomy care.
It was amazing.
It's
Right.
oh, you're sweet. At least you were awake for it. Nate Mancius was not.
Nate just got called out.
Called out. But
Ouch.
you know, but it really is one of those things where it's funny how as a professional we're really fine with like shoulders. and necks and hips and backs and SI joints, but then we completely skip over the parts that keep us alive. They're not, but they're uncomfortable with it, and it's really uncomfortable to not be able to pee, poop, and have sex when you want to.
Preach.
So it's one of those things that I feel rather passionately about. I love that it's popped up in social situations. People have asked me questions, not that the peeing, pooping, or sex has popped up, but also in Nate and Ryan's their session, but also in other, like in my talk, that there's no reason why dudes can't treat dudes, why women can't treat dudes, and vice versa, why dudes can't treat women. We just need to figure out what we need to do to tamp down that stigma and get people who are comfortable helping people. Yeah. Also, 17-page home programs are stupid. I loved your thing this morning. I've had more people come in with they're coming into me for knee pain, and they have a carefully correlated binder of exercises that they do religiously and are no bloody better.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so how do you feel about doing less of this? And it's funny how they're like a little anxious because their other 17 therapists said they needed to.
Right.
I'm like, but you're not better. So we all need to use a little more common sense and a little more respect for people's time and effort.
Yeah, it's insane. It's absolutely insane.
I could go on all night, but I'm going to let Rachel take it over.
All right, Rachel. So Rachel is actually the coordinator of this group. We ate at Carl's Jr. Last year in Anaheim, California, CSM 2016. Now we're at CSM 2017, San Antonio. There's not a Carl's Jr. close to the convention center, so we're going to Whataburger. Whataburger?
So it's spelled what a burger.
What a burger?
I always say it Whataburger.
Whataburger.
So.
Okay. Sorry, Rachel. I hate to interrupt, but we are at 10 minutes, and Zach owes me 2 beers. Zach, if my second beer could be a porter, I think I'll switch from the IPA and go a little darker. Thanks, buddy. So, what do you do, and what's been your takeaway at CSM this year? And what did you order?
I had the Whataburger Junior with cheese.
A junior?
Yeah,
Come on.
yeah, just a little junior bug, but
that works.
Yeah, Junior Rachel with the junior burger.
All right.
And I am an acute care therapist.
All right.
And I feel like I'm about to be the girl talking about her feelings right now. Because I feel like my takeaway message is just all the positivity that I feel at CSM all the time.
Yeah.
So last year was my first CSM. Obviously, so this makes this year my second.
Yep, me too.
And I'm still just so inspired by how many forward-thinking people and just like the positivity and like the support from everyone that I've met is just so encouraging. So yeah.
I would second that. This is the biggest morale booster.
Right? I feel like it always gets you back on track. Like if you're in a rut, I just so encourage people to come. Like this experience is what you make it.
Right.
And like get out there and meet people because I met so many great people, like people that I'm sharing Whataburger with right now.
I know.
Warm
it's
fuzzies.
So
I'm going to pass it on to Monique.
Pass on to Monique. Home Health PR Committee. What? Monique, tell us what you do, what you ate.
Well, Dustin, I know you've been trying to get me on your podcast for a very long time.
Seriously,
so this is my first time.
You still got to do a full interview.
Oh yes, I do. I promised you that I would do one. I'm back in the country, so then I'll do one with you.
All right. That's true.
I am a physical therapist. I practice in Maryland, predominantly home health. And I ordered a cheese bacon Whataburger.
Okay.
What I like about CSM, well, last year was my first time, like it was with Rachel.
Yeah.
But when I thought about becoming a physical therapist as a teenager, I never envisioned that I would be in conferences like these with so many forward-thinking therapists.
Yeah.
So it's always a joy to be around you guys. The highlight for me this year was to see like you and Sean, people that I communicate with on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Just break out of your element and you're fine.
We're having some technical difficulties right now. I wanted to give you all some context of the situation at hand. Ryan Smith actually just dumped a whole large soft drink all over my cell phone and recording equipment. Thanks, Ryan.
Yes.
So where were we?
I was talking about the highlight of the session so far, and it's just to see people that I work closly with break out of their shell. Like how to see you speak to a room full of so many people, to see Ryan actually, be bold and confident to talk about men's pelvic health.
Yeah.
So I think you guys are encouraging younger PTs to come out and speak up, because there's a history in the physical therapy profession that the older PTs usually tend to push down young, progressive thinking PTs. I don't know if you guys have experienced that, but I've experienced it in the past, that I had to sort of, tame down my ambitious nature at times, so that it would not annoy and aggravate the older PTs that I was around. So it has been a blessing to be on my own and not having to sort of try to tame that part of my personality. So being around people who think the same way, as Rachel said, has been a huge boost
Awesome.
to me too.
Cool.
So,
All right.
else for you, Zach?
All right, Zach Stearns. So listeners know Zach Stearns. So we're recording this on Friday the 17th. I believe we announced the past 2 weeks that Zach was taking over the Voice of the Patient podcast. Zach, what did you have to eat?
I had a jalapeno and cheddar Whataburger.
Ooh,
Yeah.
man.
A little bit of spice with spicy ketchup. Oh, wow. Yeah.
I like
really
it.
Double spice.
I love it. I love it. So this is your first CSM?
First
right?
CSM.
So how's it been?
So it has been, I will say, overwhelming. Yeah, for the first time. And that's saying a lot, because back home, I'm also a student. I think the only student at the table. So a student with 2 kids, and this is probably ranks up there as one of the more overwhelming moments in every recent history. So
That's saying something.
Exactly.
Sorry to interrupt, Zach, but we are at 15 minutes, and you, my friend, owe me 3 beers, and my last beer is probably going to be some type of coffee stout. Just finish up the night with a good kind of motor oil type of beer to end the night well. So, yeah, Zach, I appreciate it, buddy.
But it's good. Really, there's something for everyone. And things like this happen, that I'm sitting at a Whataburger, and then in walks this rowdy group of just a bunch of troublemakers.
Hoodlums.
Troublemakers. And then invite me to the table, and here I am.
We're recording a podcast.
Yeah.
What else would you be doing at this hour at CSM?
Yeah, exactly. That's the magic of it, really.
Yeah.
You see so many people doing so many things, and if you just tag along, you get to see an awesome conversation.
That's
and
crazy.
Really learn a lot, especially as a student.
Yeah, it's crazy, especially with for those that are interactive online, and Twitter, Facebook, or whatever. You get to meet the people. They're real people. They're not just a Twitter profile picture. It's just it's an interesting interaction. Sometimes can be awkward, because I tend to hug people like I know them, but I really don't know them. But I assume that I can hug them, which is not the norm.
Like, especially with this, it's been a genuine interest in seeing one another. So that's what I like.
Yeah.
So we're not trying to sell one another something.
Right.
Sorry. We're not trying to sell one another something. It's actually wanting people to be comfortable doing what they're doing, actually improving patient care.
Right.
That's what I like about this small group.
Awesome. All right. Well, cheers to that. I think I have some French fries to finish somewhere. I hope so. All right. Thank you all. Keep it funky. There you have it, folks. Zach Stearns owes me 3 beers. And Zach, I'd prefer to have those kind of spaced out equally throughout CSM. So if we could just spread that out over 3 nights, that'd be great. I hope you all enjoyed that as much as I did. One more thing. Don't forget to check out oldnotweak.com. So there's lots of resources all about how can we get older adults stronger in a thoughtful, safe manner, but still challenge them to the point that they're actually going to adapt and get stronger. There's also the Twitter Storify feed. Then also just leave some feedback. If you think we should add something, or you have a critique, or whatever, there's a little section on there that you can leave a comment. So thank you all for listening. I appreciate you, and I will talk with you soon. Hit me. Thank you for listening to the Senior Rehab Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, you should hop on over to seniorrehabproject.com to find more helpful content. You can also find out how you can join the team and be a part of the private Facebook group, the monthly mastermind meetup, and have a say in the content and direction of this podcast. Once again, that's seniorrehabproject.com. I appreciate you, and I'll talk with you soon. But in the meantime, do not forget to stay funky.